Hello and welcome to the Torch Snuffers podcast. I'm your host, Alicia, and here with me today are two special panelists. We have Stephen Lehman.
Hi.
And Prince Ty Hewitt.
Good evening.
We are going to get right into things this evening to discuss episode 6 of Survivor Season 35, Triple H. We get back from Tribal Council, and immediately there are lots of fireworks in a bad way. We have Allie yelling at Ryan, Ryan yelling at Allie, and all of this is taking place in front of everyone else. We now see the aftermath of that. We know Allie gets voted out. And do we think that perhaps that big show of emotion is one of the major reasons that she ended up having her demise this episode?
I mean, it can't be discounted just in as much as it made it very clear that she was on the outs of their full group and they lost again, and anything that can make you an easy target might. So it certainly didn't help her cause it all. I think there's a lot of other reasons that ultimately went into why she was eliminated beyond just the fact that she was mad at Ryan and Ryan kind of poorly handled possibly get. Like, it was all Ryan's fault for last episode. Like, he had the choice of either pissing off somebody but sending them home or pissing somebody off who was still going to be there to yell at him and completely blow up his spot. And he made that choice by leaving Allie in and voting out Rourke, who wasn't going to be mad at him because he had no particular tie to her. Whereas if he had voted Chrissy out, Chrissy would have been gone and therefore not there to yell at him. So, like, he had a bit of a comeuppance, and he kind of looks bad this episode. But as far as Allie goes, she was probably screwed for other reasons, but it didn't help, I'm sure.
Yeah, and you say that, Ryan kind of started to looked a little bad. For me, this seemed like the first episode that he was getting a bit more of a negative, kind of was laughing, had the villain laugh kind of stuff going on. He talked about being a weasel at the end of the episode, so just a lot more negative connotation I saw out of him this week than in weeks past, where we've really been all of these different alliances that he's made. So I'm just wondering if perhaps he's going to turn into a villain alongside Joe.
Well,
but
I think with Ryan, at least, I think that it was definitely a miscalculation on his part, because I mean, we had been shown repeatedly Allie being loyal to him and him saying, "Oh yeah, I trust Allie, she's loyal to me," and then we see a scene of him almost confronting her, being like, "Why are you mad that I left you in the dark? How dare you be mad that I betrayed you?" It was almost surreal. If you're gonna backstab someone who you trust, fully insert the knife in the back. Do not just scratch them with it a little bit and give them some room to get you back. I feel like that's what Ryan kind of did with Allie. He kind of cut her a little bit, but he didn't fully twist the knife. And well, I mean, he did tonight.
Monty Python, it's just a flesh wound.
Right, it was just a flesh wound. So, yeah.
It kind of reminded me of Adam in the Millennials versus Gen X, where he made his one move and turned on Figgy or whatever it was, and then was kind of very much indignant that anybody could have the audacity to be mad at him and target him the next round when Taylor decided to go after him because he was angry. The whole thing kind of reminded me of that, which maybe gives Ryan some chance still, but I don't know. Alicia brought up juxtaposing him with Joe. I don't think it's a coincidence that all of a sudden we saw something at least slightly redeeming with Joe tonight, at the same exact time that we saw something very not redeeming with Ryan. I mean, if that was coincidental at all. Because all of a sudden Joe, who's been a big blustery, almost bully type figure in this pre-merge, all of a sudden has a family edit, and also all of a sudden is potentially the underdog, depending on how this merge shakes out next week, if people want him gone.
Yeah, absolutely. I even wrote down, oh my gosh, Joe mentions his kids, and now he's likable. And it was so strange that as we see him find an idol, which we should be like, oh, not again. I'm like, oh, that's weird. He's doing it for his kids, just like Monica did it for Monica, and both are really, really valid, reasons to play the game. So it's just interesting to see, if perhaps those roles will reverse. I think with Ryan, Jeff Probst talks about $1 million decisions, and I just get the feeling that between last week and this week, Ryan not voting with Allie is going to be $1 million decision, and it'll be interesting to see which way it falls. And from right now, the edit is kind of making it seem like it's going to lose him the game. Potentially it's going to come back and bite him rather than propel him to the end, but obviously only time will tell.
Right. I mean, another thing, and somebody who we haven't brought up in all of this, and yet possibly the great decider of the vote tonight, was Chrissy.
Yep.
Chrissy is probably playing the best game out there. And while Ryan pointed out the fact that JP going would be good to get rid of threat before the merge and all that sort of business, and while that would have been good for Allie, obviously, because then Allie would not be gone, and it would be good for us because Allie being on is much more interesting than JP being on, so we were all robbed of Allie Goddess. The simple truth of the matter is, for Chrissy's game, big dumb JP doing what she tells him to do is good for her. Yeah. And all of a sudden, Ryan went to her and said, what he was saying and all that sort of business. But it seems very clear that she put the kibosh on it, and that she is the one wearing the pants in this potential non-healers alliance that's going to come out of the merge. Because you do have the whole, only one healer is gone to this point, so like Joe's a threat, Cole's a threat, Jess is a threat because they're a pair, and all of that. Dr. Mike, not so much, but like, Desi could get lumped into all of that. If the healers get targeted, I feel like Chrissy is in the best spot, and it almost seems like Ryan has a character arc, but it's mostly, at the end of the day, bettering Chrissy's game. Like, he threw away his own game for hers, which, is interesting enough and is good because I think we like Chrissy, but, that I think is where we're heading as far as where he is, and in that sense, his $1 million decision was a mistake, unless he wanted Chrissy to have the money for some reason, which he probably didn't. I don't think that altruism exists, not among Survivor players. Anyway.
Yeah.
Yes, altruism does exist in Survivor. We see that with Mike catching the fish and offering the tiniest little morsel to his little tribe. And feeling like the big provider. We've gotten a lot of like those I'm going fishing sequences with the, exciting music. I feel like JP's done it. Cole and Jessica have done it. Now Mike's adding his own, I don't know, he's casting his line in the fishing. I don't know. Insert a terrible fishing analogy there. You get it. You get it. And then, of course, again, we've got the juxtaposition with Cole being greedy, eating the fish that he catches, eating all the food, passing out in spite of eating all the food. It's like a whole big food gate thing.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm honestly surprised that after the reward challenge where they win the pizza, we didn't cut to like Cole trying to eat half the
entire pizza. Yeah. Right. I expected a soundbite where he'd just be like, well, guys, there's only one pizza and I need it most, so I'm going to go ahead and eat this. And then, like, him just start gorging it down, and then Lauren maybe beating him to death. Like, possibly, it seemed like it would be plausible. Like, I was just ready for her to slap him and just be like, no, boy, that's my pizza. And, like, just, it would have been glorious. So glorious. But
no, I envisioned it like where they like save some of the pizza, and then in the middle of the night he goes and eats it and like pretends like he did it, and then everyone else is like, "Are you kidding? Who else could it possibly have been?"
And then he would secretly reveal to each one individually that he was the one who took the pizza, and then
Because
Right.
that's so cool.
Bill Trust. It's in the Bill Trust.
That would be
He's
a
almost a
new
villain now.
Survivor strategy.
Yeah, well,
Like,
Next
talking
level.
about villains, like it just he's so dumb that like he's almost become like another villain that Joe could hide behind if Joe all of a sudden has legs with this underdog at it. Like I
Yeah.
could see them targeting Cole now instead of Joe just because Cole is that stupid and like therefore easy. Like I don't know, I think he's an easy merge boot fodder type.
Yeah.
Like I don't know.
I would not be surprised if we lost Cole based on the old school grounds of he's annoying the hell out of everyone and we just want to get him out so we don't have to deal with him. So
Plus he's the physical threat.
well, that too. It's sort of a 2-for-1.
Mhm.
And I mean, the only person who Cole is really under thumb-wise is Jessica. So
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it is a common trend that we see with a merge is that all of the big physical threats end up getting targets on their backs, and most end up going home unless they're able to kind of win their way towards the finish. I think that might be also another reason that JP was kept around over Allie, because he is that big extra target for Chrissy and Ryan, who undoubtedly are thinking about that as they are both strategic players in this game.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah, but let's see. Oh yes, and then we also on that tribe have Lauren being Lauren and hating everyone but mainly Cole. You know, talking about how Jessica should never move into his van because they'd never leave it. I don't really know if Cole owns a van or this is just.
Yeah. So his whole thing is that he does wilderness therapy like out of the base of his like van, so he doesn't have to like I guess be tied down somewhere. So basically, yes, his car is his home. His van is his home.
Oh.
So he's homeless, basically.
I mean,
no, he has a mobile home.
a mobile
Mobile.
office, I guess.
An automobile home.
I don't know.
Yeah.
The whole thing makes me think of Chris Farley and living in a van down by the river.
Farley in a van down by
Like,
the river.
that's where I'm going with this whole thing, and it's just it makes a lot of sense. Like it makes a ton of sense, but God, like oh dear. Oh my.
I mean, I don't know that I'd want to live in a van with anyone. I don't think I'd want to live in a van with myself because that means I'd be living in a van.
I'd say I don't want to live in a van, period.
With him?
Right.
Period. Like just in general.
Yeah, no.
If you're living in a van, something went wrong with one of your life decisions. You made $1 million decision and
One
it
or
did
more.
not go well. Because you don't have anybody left and you're living in your van. So like, there you go. It's just,
if you're living in a van, more than one life decision went wrong, I feel like.
right.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to be in the vanguard and no one wants to live in the van itself. Like it's just it's I don't know. It's
yeah.
My God. And if his van hadn't been parked at Chipotle, we wouldn't know that he exists. So like there's just I mean, in that way I guess it's good because like he was able to be in the right place at the right time because he was able to he literally took his entire life to Chipotle. Found himself a girlfriend.
That's dedication. When you uproot your entire family and home to go to Chipotle, it's the best possible outcome you could have, I think, in that scenario is being discovered.
It's the perfect Survivor arc too, because he decided he was hungry and that he needed to eat. His entire Survivor arc is he's hungry and he needs to eat. And he might flirt with Jessica, who doesn't know what to do because she's a virgin. It's that and her getting awkwardly flirted at by Cole. Like, I don't know. Like, it was almost sad because, like, she just coddles him. He falls over, and, like, it's good that, like, they tended to him. He got lucky that he was there with 2 medical professionals when he keeled over. He had a nurse and he had a doctor, like, right there to get him back to health. But, like, her whole thing was just like, oh, he just needs to eat. He's a growing boy. Like, she's, like, excusing his terrible behavior, which is upsetting because I was kind of hoping she'd be ready to cut him so that she could do better, which it doesn't appear that she's going to.
I mean, if you're passing out, like, yeah, you might actually need to eat, but I don't know. For me, it was surprising that all happened in the span that Ben was gone. Like, he missed that whole thing. It made me wonder, like, how long really does it take to, like, boil the water and cook the rice? 'Cause maybe not that long. If he was already, like, being fed by the time Ben gets back and finds out about
Oh, hey, Ben, you missed nothing. Cole definitely did not pass out, and we definitely did not have to, like, resuscitate him.
I mean, if you're going to be, missing juicy stuff going on back at camp while you're on your own, you definitely want it to be that and not any sort of strategic conversations happening. So Ben lucked out, I think.
Ben did.
So merch is coming.
Yes,
it's going to be exciting, I think.
Yeah, I would agree.
I mean, I can realistically see where things are going in the short term. I think that the healers are the big threats because only one of them is gone. And it just so happens that the pair of non-healers from the new hero tribe both have strategic ties to the power structure that formed tonight, because you've got Devin, who was the assistant to Ryan, and you've got Ashley, who was in love with the big dumb lump that Christy just saved tonight. And to that end, like, Ben can go back to Chrissy, and Lauren has nobody except for the other two hustlers or whatever tribe that was left, because she was on the original tribe with Devin and Ryan. So, like, it makes sense that all of that will come back together, and that Joe, Cole, Desi, and
Jess.
the nurse, whose name you're right, exactly, would be in a bad way, and maybe Dr. Mike abandons them, and maybe Dr. Mike doesn't. It sounds like Joe is going to beg Dr. Mike to not abandon them. It's like you saw that clip briefly, like, in the preview. Of course, what they don't know is the only idol in the game is currently in the possession of that minority, because all of a sudden Joe is a likable underdog who loves his children and isn't crazy, except that he is.
Does Ryan not have an idol?
No, the idols are with Joe and Mike.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I don't know why I thought Ryan had an idol.
He talks a lot, so it's understandable. You would think he did have an idol.
He would have a power, even though he doesn't, in fact.
Oh man, with Joe and Mike holding idols, that's going to be interesting. Yeah, I'm excited to see all of these different relationships that have formed and then broken apart, and then new relationships forming. I know that's the whole point of pretty much every pre-merge is for that to happen, but I think really we're seeing a lot of different little pairing offs, and it'll be interesting to see everyone come back together and see where those pairs fit. We've had so much talk with Devin and Ashley about going to rocks and being, like, rock solid and all this stuff, and it'll be interesting to see if they continue that with the merge or don't. But I think we've got some exciting game ahead of us.
Yeah,
indeed.
Yes.
And it's also strange because going into the swap, I would have been sure that Allie was making the merge, because Allie was shown to be a strategic player. She was shown to be a driver. And now all of a sudden she's gone. And it kind of leaves things somewhat wide open as to who could take it. You've got Mike, who's in a pivotal swing position now and also has an idol. So, like, is he a contender, even though for the most part I've thought of him as an afterthought? Could Joe possibly do well because he knows the game and knows how to find all of these idols? Will Chrissy just control everything? Will Ryan get his comeuppance? Will it be like Rob Sesternino, where all of a sudden, like, he teaches his dumb minion Survivor too well, and Devin ends up cutting him because Devin's got a girlfriend now, and Ashley. Like, there's just so much crazy stuff that could go on. I think Ben's in a great spot. We've barely talked about Ben, other than the fact that he missed out on,
Cole dying.
Colgate, which is a stupid name for a thing because it's also a toothpaste.
And that's why not everything is a gate, Tyler.
Yes.
But I think it's good that we haven't seen much of Ben, because Ben just needed to really be laying low on his tribe where he was initially outnumbered. So I think he's doing a great job of just literally surviving. And now he'll be able to spread his wings and kind of get some Survivor game going again. So
And he's clearly still been playing.
yeah,
Because
lots of
he's not a
exciting, dynamic characters left in this game. Lots of rootable characters, and some, of course, that we're rooting to fail. So I'm excited to see how it all unfolds next week, and we will be back here next Wednesday to discuss the merge. Thank you all for joining us, and have a wonderful rest of your day / night / morning, whenever it is that you're listening to our podcast.
Indeed. Have a good one, guys.